Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, and I'm joined by our next guest, Becca Pizzi, Race Director, World Marathon Challenge, and Antarctic Ice Marathon for Runbuk. Welcome to Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm truly excited. As I said to you before, it's always great to be in the company of world-class athletes, and I'm sure, like most, you're a humble person. But tell our listeners a little bit about the background. I'm humbled to be in the presence of a Guinness Book World Record holder.
Yeah, so I started running. I'm from Belmont, Massachusetts, and I started running with my dad when I was 6 years old, and it's brought me through high school and college, and it's taken me around the world. I feel very lucky to be living out my dream.
So really, it started out as a passion at a young age, and you've managed to make it your profession as well along the way, and be involved in all types of race activities.
Yeah, that's basically exactly it. True.
So tell us a little bit about the World Marathon. I know you've been a participant, and now you're actively involved in leading the race.
Yeah, so I ran the World Marathon Challenge, which is 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. And I ran it in 2016 and 2018 and became friends with the owner, Oliver. And I had the opportunity to race direct it. And I love the race. I love the travel. I love the ultimate test of endurance and strength. And I saw firsthand how he operates. And I thought, why not me? I'm gonna go for it. That sounds exactly like my dream job.
That is entirely amazing when you stop to think about it. Not being a runner, but knowing a world class marathon. The traditional marathon happens in 2:10, 2:20, 2:30, somewhere in that range. Two
Mhm.
to 3 hours, let's call it.
Yeah.
But now you've got travel logistics to get to 7 continents in those 24 hours. Is that the gist of it? Is it?
Yeah, it's a logistical nightmare. I mean, it's really one marathon's really hard to pull off, and we're managing 16 time zones, and you have to, every single race has to run like clockwork, and it's being prepared for the unexpected and getting comfortable being uncomfortable and taking one continent at a time. You're working on one continent and you're thinking about the next continent. Starts in Antarctica. We go to Cape Town, Africa, Perth, Australia, Dubai, Madrid, Fortaleza, Brazil, and it ends in Miami. So in 7 days, it's over.
Wow. So, and do you obviously, I would imagine you've got teams on the ground in each of those locations, but then you also probably have a rolling team, your crew, that's going from continent to continent.
Yeah.
So how does the travel and is a big part? I mean, I'm sure there's so many components to it. It's obviously a multifaceted, complex organization from the perspective of you have an event, but you also have all of the pre-event, all the logistics associated with the event, tack in travel and all of that. So where do the pieces, is that what you spend most of your year putting together all the logistics associated with, just like fine-tune orchestration?
Yeah, we travel with a group of 8, and every one of us has a job to do. And it's from the doctors to logistical to media team, and we just hit the ground running. And then when we land, we have a team of about 20, and they spread out around the course, and they provide the water, the Gatorade, the snacks, and all of the, taking us from the bus when we land the bus to the race course and supporting us on the course. So it takes an absolute village to get this done.
And you must do it also, I would imagine, in conjunction with local authorities because, you guys are probably moving pretty quickly from race start to race finish and then back to point of departure, point of entry, etc.
Absolutely. We have a permit for all 7 continents. The courses are certified. We take it very seriously.
And how large is the pool of runners typically in a race?
We were 62 runners from 21 countries.
Wow, wow. So that's an enormous undertaking.
Mhm.
And how do the runners travel from continent to continent? Does this all work as one unit, or does it where because I
We
sorry.
travel together and we have 8 hours on the course to complete the course. And we start out taking a military cargo plane to Antarctica. And then from that point on, we're on a chartered plane the rest of the way through.
Okay, so the entire organization moves as one unit logistically, because I would imagine, the nature of a race is people obviously finish at different times, and so
Mhm.
some have some downtime waiting for others, and but it
Yeah.
sounds like it's a very collegial, if I may say, sort of race. So probably a lot of incredible support along the way for the athletes and, pulling each other up because everybody wants everybody, I'm sure, to maybe not finish first, but to finish.
That's true. You know the highs are really high in an event like this and the lows are really low. And I did notice that when people were going through their lows, all of the runners rallied for them, and I thought that was awesome.
And what is training like? Because it's a feat to run a single marathon. And as I said, I'm not a runner, but I'm somewhat athletic for a guy with gray hair, and I know what it takes a toll. Backcountry skiing for a day, and the amount of fluid that you lose in 3 or 4 hours, let alone running a marathon, and then getting your body to recuperate on an airplane for the next one. How do you regulate? How do you train? How do you even get into something like this?
So when I read about it, I had a shot at making history. An American female had never finished it before. So I was like, oh, I am absolutely going for this. I feel like I was born to run this race. And being from New England, I had trained in all weather conditions. So what I did was I worked my way up to about 100 miles in running a week. And then I did a lot of pliability and yoga and then sauna training. And because we're temperature ranging from 15 degrees to 90. So, on top of crossing so many 16 time zones, we have the weather elements, and I wanted to test my gear, make sure that my gear for Antarctica would be great. So I went to Montreal, Canada, and ran on the river in very cool conditions. So it was a year's worth of like trial and error, but I felt most comfortable running 100 miles per week at all hours of the day because you touch down on a continent and then you take the bus over to the starting line. It could be 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Not all of these races are being run at 8 a.m. They're spread throughout the day. So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable was my motto.
And walk us through, the feeling after a first day, through what you feel like heading into, I don't know, maybe finishing day 6, getting into day 7 is, does your body have the opportunity in that time period of traveling? And again, because your body has to adjust to altitude, or I know you're in a pressurized cabin, but weird things happen to the body in flight for long periods of time also. And so
Yeah.
are you guys just hydrating continuously when you're not running and getting
Yeah.
your weight back up and your electrolytes back up and all of that? How, and you're monitored by physicians along the way?
We had two doctors, which were mostly there just to support us if we needed them, if they had any injuries or anything like that. They were not there to massage our bodies. They were not there to do anything like give us IV unless we were in serious trouble. But mostly everybody has to focus with 62 runners, everybody has to focus on themselves. And hydration played a huge role because if you lose track of hydration, it's hard to recover from that. You don't feel good, your stomach's off, everything is not going well. But the plane they lay flat down in beds. We didn't stay in hotel rooms. There was nothing like that. So we were able to sleep on planes. And I always suggested to the runners, having done it myself, just get up and walk the plane and make sure that you're staying ahead of hydration and nutrition and just keeping your guard up the entire time.
If I'm not mistaken, flying is a dehydrating issue in and of itself.
Yeah.
People often say make sure you hydrate to avoid sickness in long flights.
Yeah.
What tell us a little bit about the organization and Runbuck? Is it a self-funded organization? Is it sponsored? How does all this work?
So Runbunk owns all of our extreme marathons. We have Easter Island, we have North Pole, we have Antarctica Ice Ultra. We have several marathons. We take a team of a lot of people to London and organize the London Marathon. And it's really Oliver is incredibly good at what he does. He's detail oriented. He's very good to the runners. He has a great relationship with the staff and the runners and making sure that the runners all questions are answered and they have everything that they need. And he's based out of California, so he goes to all of the events. And our next up is the Northern Lights Aurora Marathon. So it's so much fun to mostly when pretty much everybody that runs one of our events goes to another one of our events. It's very rare that they just run one of our events and don't do another. So it's great to see everybody again.
Well, I know it's a very tight community, the running community, and people are obviously very committed and dedicated to it. You've somehow managed to carve out time for running foundations as well along the way. So, when do you sleep?
Yeah, so I don't get a ton of sleep. I do. I feel very lucky to live the life that I love so much. And I created a foundation 10 years ago, and Becca Pizzi Foundation, and we've given $100,000 in scholarships through my 5K race that I organize in Belmont every August. And the community comes together, and whether they're running really, really fast or it's their first 5K, I feel so lucky to race direct that and give out the scholarships. And I have a book, Becca's Feet on Feet, a children's book, and it's been sold in all 50 states. And I've run a marathon in all of the 50 states. And it's just been an incredible journey for me. I feel very fortunate.
Wow, it's really been a pleasure listening and your passion, your interest. I think it speaks to people all over that are passionate about things that they can turn their passions into lifelong, fulfilling opportunities and careers. And it sounds as though you're well on your way to doing that, and we wish you continued success in that.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Becca, if people want to learn more about the races that you're involved in, your organization, yourself, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Becca Pizzi at yahoo.com. And then I have a website, beccapizzi.com. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all the things.
Excellent. Our guest has been Becca Pizzi, race director of the World Marathon Challenge and an Antarctic Ice Marathon for Runbuk. And it has been a pleasure having you on Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.